No one played with the billionaire's one-legged son until a poor black girl came along. Why are you sitting there, all alone, like it's a punishment? The voice cut through the air, low but hard, unlike any child on the playground. Anna Brooks, her hair in messy tufts and her sneakers worn from running, stared at the boy as if demanding an answer. Eli Hart, son of billionaire Marcus Hart, looked up slowly. He clutched his backpack to his chest like a shield. At 6 years old, he had already learned that isolation was the price he paid every day. He knew well what came after questions like that: mockery, cruel laughter, venomous whispers, and sometimes even worse. His throat closed, his voice barely coming out over the chorus of other children enjoying themselves on the iron bars. "They don't want me there," he muttered, barely audible. Anna, her brown eyes sparkling, tilted her head, but what shone in her gaze wasn't contempt. It was something he never expected to find: challenge. Before continuing, I want to invite you to like the video and leave a comment from where you are watching this beautiful story. Why not? Before Eli could respond, the answer came in the form of cruel laughter. 3 boys from his class approached, smirks plastered on their faces. One held a carton of milk, another scuffed his shoe through the straw like a movie bully. "Well, look at that," the taller one scoffed. "A one-legged tin boy making friends with... what is she?" He glanced at Anna and then let out a shrill laugh. "Oh, yes, a little black girl." The others howled, and one of them intervened, his voice dripping with malice. "Perfect. The toy broken and the wrong color. A pair of losers." Anna froze for a moment. She'd been teased before. Her clothes weren't new. Her skin was darker than most of the kids at the fancy private school. But something about the way they said it, the way they pointed at Eli, lit a fire in her chest. "This isn't funny," she yelled, stepping forward so quickly the boys blinked. "You can't say that." One of them threw a crumpled napkin at Eli. Another threw sandwich crumbs on his clean shirt. Eli hunched over, his cheeks burning, wishing the ground would swallow him whole. "Stop it!" Anna's voice cracked, but she didn't back down. "You're cowards. Bullshitting someone for being different doesn't make you tough. It makes you petty and small," the taller boy scoffed. "Or what, little girl? Are you going to fight us?" He grabbed a handful of straw and raised it threateningly as Anna lifted her chin. She clenched her fists at her sides. "Or else I'll tell Miss Carter you were throwing food again, and I'll tell my grandmother." "She knows how to make people listen," she said angrily. Her voice was fierce now. "And you have to remember, people are watching. Everyone can see how ugly you are." Around them, the playground grew quieter. Other children stared, some wide-eyed, others whispering. The bullies shifted uneasily, their bravado giving way under the weight of the ladder. "Whatever it is," the leader muttered, dropping the straw, "this isn't over." He jerked his head, and the group backed away, casting nervous glances over their shoulders. Eli stood motionless, milk dripping down his shirt. Anna turned to him immediately, pulling a crumpled tissue from her pocket. She wiped away the stains with delicate movements, her eyes now soft. "They're just stupid," she said firmly. "Don't let them make you feel small." Eli swallowed. His chest ached with shame, but his words planted something else, something like warmth. "Why did you do that?" he asked, his voice trembling. Anna shrugged. "Because it was wrong, and because..." She smiled. Her gap-toothed smile suddenly bright. "I think you could be my friend if this story touched your heart. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Like this video to support more impactful stories like this. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more." The bell rang then, shrill and authoritative, and the children ran toward the red brick building. Eli slowly stood up. His prosthetic knee creaked, stiff and awkward, and he stumbled. Without hesitation, Anna grabbed his arm, steadying him. "There, she said with a smile. Better, for the first time in a long time. Eli believed her. The drive home that afternoon felt longer than usual. Eli sat in the back seat of the black SUV, staring out the tinted window as the Atlanta cityscape blurred by. The air inside smelled faintly of leather and polish, every surface spotless, just the way his father liked it. Marcus Hart was on the phone, his voice low and authoritative, the words investors and deadlines echoing through the seat. Eli pressed his forehead against the cool glass. He should have been replaying the earlier taunts, the sharp laugh, the milk dripping down his shirt. This was the usual rhythm of his afternoons. But today, another memory invaded Anna, small but fierce, standing her ground, her voice harsh as she called the bullies cowards. No one had ever done this for him. It clung to him like a fragile light. As the SUV pulled into the circular driveway of the Hart estate, the gates closed behind them, and the mansion rose above manicured lawns like something out of a storybook. Tall white columns, arched windows, and a fountain that glowed against the Sunday landscape. Eli stepped out slowly, adjusting the strap of his backpack. His prosthetic leg cracked as it hit the stone sidewalk, the sound always echoing there. It thudded against the marble and glass, reminding him of the difference he'd tried so hard to hide. Inside, Vivian waited, standing at the base of the imposing staircase, every strand of her blonde hair perfectly in place, her smile wide but restrained, as if her face were stretched by invisible threads. "You're late," she said, brushing invisible dust off Eli's shoulder. "Have you had another accident?" Her eyes fell on the faint stain on his shirt, and Eli stiffened. "Number?" She arched an eyebrow. "Then why is your uniform filthy? You know your father expects you to represent this family with dignity." Marcus ended the call and placed his hand on Eli's shoulder, though his eyes were already back on his phone. "He's fine, Viv. Let him breathe." Vivian's lips twitched, but she said nothing more. Instead, she led Eli toward the dining room. The long mahogany table stretched across the space, candles flickering even though it was still early evening. The dishes meticulously arranged, steak for Marcus, roasted vegetables for Vivian, and for Eli, a carefully measured portion of grilled chicken and steamed broccoli. Eli picked at his food in silence. His mind returned to Anna. She seemed so small, yet somehow towered over the three bullies. As he stood before them, he thought of her words. "Don't let them make you feel small." The fork slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the plate. Vivian's eyes lifted, awkward again. And she murmured, "Maybe you're just too tired. Maybe we need to cut back on your physical therapy. Too much exertion isn't good for a boy like you." Eli swallowed. "I can handle it." His gaze sharpened. "That's not your decision to make." Marcus's phone vibrated again, and he excused himself and left the table. The silence that followed felt colder than the marble beneath Eli's feet. After dinner, Vivian accompanied Eli to his room. It was large, lined with shelves of untouched toys, the kind other children would have fought over, but to Eli, the room felt like a museum, beautiful but lifeless. As Vivian tucked him into bed, she adjusted his blanket with clinical precision. "You need to be careful who you spend your time with," she said softly, almost gently. "Not everyone belongs in your world, Eli." He looked at her, his heart racing. "I met a girl today, her hands immobile." "A girl? She helped me," he said, and thought of Anna wiping the milk off his shirt with her crumpled handkerchief, as she held him steady as he stumbled. Vivian's expression changed, something sharp flashing behind her practiced smile. "That's sweet," she said slowly, "but remember what I said. Some kids aren't the right company. They don't understand what it means to be part of this family. It's best to keep your distance." Eli wanted to argue, to say that Anna understood him better than anyone at school. But the weight of Vivian's gaze pressed down on him like a stone. He turned onto his side, pretending to sleep until she left. The next morning, the driver dropped him off at school. Eli's chest tightened as he entered the playground. He almost expected the boys from the previous day to return, scoffing, throwing food. He saw them across the courtyard, whispering, their eyes turning to him. His stomach dropped. Then he heard her, "Hey, Eli." Anna waved from near the swings. Her smile wide and fearless, running toward him, her backpack swinging over her shoulders. "I saved us a place for lunch," she announced breathlessly, as if her mind had already been made up. You want to sit with me?" he asked. "Sure," she replied, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "That's what friends do." The word warmed him again. "Friends?" He nodded, almost shyly, and followed her toward the swings. But the relief was short-lived. At lunchtime, the bullies struck again. As Eli and Anna carried their trays to the table, a boy stuck out his foot. Eli stumbled, his tray toppled, milk spilled onto the floor, splashing his shoes, and laughter erupted. "Careful, one leg." The taller boy scoffed. "You'd better let your girlfriend handle that for you." He looked at Anna and scoffed. Not that anyone wants a black girl as a girlfriend. The coffee shop seemed to hold its breath. Eli froze, humiliation consuming him, but Anna slammed the tray onto the table with a crash that startled even the lunch monitors. "Shut up!" she yelled, her voice echoing through the room. "You can't talk like that. You can't make fun of him, or me, or anyone else." The room fell silent. Anna stood there with her fists clenched, her small body shaking with fury. "You think you're funny? You're not. You're just bullies, and bullies are scared cowards." The teachers then rushed over, scolding and dragging the boys aside. The moment passed, but Eli couldn't stop looking at Anna. She was trembling, but she stood there, impassive, as the entire cafeteria watched. Later, when the noise of the day had faded, Eli sat beside her at the lunch table. His voice was low, almost fragile. "Why do you keep helping me?" Anna looked at him as if it were the simplest question in the world. Because it's the right thing to do, and because you deserve a friend." He stared at the tray, the words stuck in his throat. All he could manage was a whisper. "I've never had one before." Anna smiled, soft but sure. "Well, now you do." To Eli, the words sounded like the beginning of something new, fragile, yet powerful. Somewhere deep inside, he felt the first stirrings of courage. The sun had barely risen over the Atlanta horizon when Eli arrived at school the next morning. His driver stopped the shiny SUV, and Eli stepped out carefully, adjusting the strap of his backpack. The prosthetic joint made its familiar click, a sound he hated, as if announcing his difference before he could even speak. Children's voices filled the playground, but as always, he walked alone, his eyes fixed on the ground. Then he heard her. "Eli, there." Anna's voice was cheerful, echoing through the courtyard like a warm thread, pulling him closer. She waved with both arms, standing beside the litter box with a proud smile. Eli's chest relaxed. Against his instincts, he smiled back. He walked slowly toward her, but the moment felt lighter than it had yesterday, as if her voice could soften the rough edges of the world. Anna wasted no time. She knelt in the sand, her sneakers already dusty, and patted the spot beside her. "Sit down. I want to see your leg." Eli froze, looking around to see who might be watching. I don't think you should." Anna shrugged. "You don't have to. But I've noticed it works, and my grandmother always says if something sounds wrong, it probably is wrong." She picked up a twig and poked the sand. "You don't have to hide this from me, Eli. I'm not scared." Her tone was calm, firm, unlike the whispers he was used to hearing. Eli sat down beside her cautiously. brushing the sand from his uniform pants. "Sometimes it hurts," he admitted. "Like, it's really tight, but I'm always told it's normal." Anna narrowed her eyes. Normal doesn't mean right. The bell rang, summoning the students inside, and the conversation ended. But all morning Eli thought about it, thought about Anna's eyes, serious and determined, and how she made his pain seem like it mattered. When lunchtime came, he felt something strange, a new hope mixed with unease. That afternoon, after school ended, Anna tugged on his sleeve. "Let's go," she whispered. "I want you to meet someone." Before Eli could ask, she dragged him down the sidewalk, away from the crowd of parents and waiting buses. "Your grandmother." Miss Brooks stood near the fence, a tall woman with grey hair and a steady gaze. She wore a simple cardigan worn at her elbows and held a shopping bag in one hand. "This is my grandmother," Anna said proudly. "She knows her stuff." Miss Brooks smiled, deep lines at the corners of her eyes. "And who is this polite young man?" Eli shifted awkwardly. "Eli Hart." His expression softened with recognition. "Hart? You're Marcus Hart's son?" Eli nodded. It was always strange to be identified by one's father's name. Miss Brooks crouched down slightly, looking him in the eye. "Your leg," she said gently. "Can I see how it is?" Eli hesitated. He wasn't used to adults asking. They usually told him what was best, what he should accept. But there was kindness in their eyes, not pity. Slowly, he lifted his pant leg to reveal the sleek prosthesis. Miss Brooks adjusted her glasses, examining the joint with practiced hands. She tapped the side lightly, pressing the snap. "This isn't aligned correctly," she murmured, "and the padding is all wrong." "No wonder it hurts." Eli blinked, stunned. "They always said it was meant to be this way." Mr. Brooks shook his head firmly. "No children. Whoever set this up didn't do it with your comfort in mind. It seems they're making adjustments that make you more dependent, not less." She looked at Anna, and then at Eli. "You deserve more." Something snapped open inside Eli. For the first time, an adult confirmed what he'd been feeling all along. The pain wasn't normal, that he wasn't weak, or imagined he was. Her chest tightened with a mixture of relief and anger. Anna smiled. "I told you." The driver honked from the curb. Eli cringed. I have to go." "Come over sometime," Anna said quickly. "Grandma can show you more. We don't have much, but we have tools." Eli wanted to say yes. He wanted to scream, but fear rushed in like cold water. He pictured Vivian's piercing eyes, her careful warnings about the wrong company. He shook his head. "I can't." Anna frowned. "Why not?" "Because." His voice trailed off. "They wouldn't let me." Miss Brooks put her hand on his shoulder. "And sometimes the people who love us don't see the truth. That doesn't mean the truth doesn't exist." Eli's driver honked again. He muttered a goodbye and ran to the SUV, his heart pounding. He felt Anna's eyes on his back the whole way. That night, the mansion glowed with a warm light, but to Eli it felt colder than ever. At dinner, Vivian watched him with her calculating smile. "You're quieter than usual," she observed. "Did something happen at school?" Eli shook his head quickly. His eyes narrowed. "Did someone bother you? You know you can tell me." He looked down at his plate. He thought of Anna, standing in the cafeteria, fists clenched, yelling at the bullies. He thought of Miss Brooks's steady hands, her certainty that something was wrong with his leg, and he thought of Vivian's voice, dripping with a sweetness that always felt like chains. "I'm fine," he whispered. Marcus barely noticed. His phone lighting up with another call. The conversation ended there. That night, alone in his room, Eli wrapped himself in his blanket. The silence in the mansion was thick, broken only by the hum of the air conditioning. His leg ached, a dull throb that kept him awake. He pressed his palm against the prosthetic joint, remembering Miss Brooks's words. "It seems like they're making adjustments that make you more dependent, not less." Could it be true? And if it were, why would anyone do this to him? His eyes burned, but behind the fear was a glimmer of stubbornness. Anna's voice echoed. Normal doesn't mean right. She believed him. She saw him. He whispered in the darkness, almost like a vow. I will see her again. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a world where he wasn't alone. The weekend arrived with the kind of spring sunshine that made Atlanta shine. But for Eli Hart, the morning felt heavy. He sat at the mansion's kitchen counter, an untouched plate of pancakes in front of him. Vivian stood nearby in her silk robe, leafing through a glossy magazine. "Eat, darling," she said without looking at him. "You need strength." Her tone was sweet, but the harshness behind it was unmistakable. Eli stabbed his pancake with his fork. His leg throbbed, the prosthetic rubbing against his skin. Miss Brooks's words haunted him. "It's not aligned properly." "No wonder it hurts." Marcus hurried in, already dressed in a tailored suit, even though it was Saturday. "Big meeting downtown," he said, absently kissing Eli's hair. "We'll talk later, champ." Then he was gone, the door clicking shut. Vivian put down the magazine and gave Eli a pointed look. "I saw you standing by the fence after school yesterday," she said. Eli's stomach tightened. "That little girl, Anna, huh? And her grandmother." He tried to keep his voice calm. "They were just being nice." Vivian's smile was practiced, polite. "People like that don't understand our world, Eli. They don't belong here. You can't afford distractions. Friends should be appropriate." He wanted to argue, but the words stuck. He lowered his head and murmured, "Yes, ma'am." Later that day, while Vivian was busy with a phone call, Eli walked out into the garden. The spring gurgled, birds flitted among the manicured hedges. But none of it brought him comfort. He thought of Anna's fearless eyes, the way she stood up to bullies. The way his grandmother's hands touched his prosthetic was definitely there. They saw him, really saw him, for the first time. He wasn't invisible or fragile. On Sunday afternoon, Eli made a decision. He asked the driver to drop him off a block away from Anna's trailer park, pretending he wanted to take a walk near the park. The driver, following Marcus's constant orders to accommodate Eli's small requests, agreed without question. The trailer park was a world apart from the Hart estate. Gravel crunched underfoot, clotheslines sagged between the metal houses, and the smell of fried chicken and motor oil hung in the air. Children rode beat-up bicycles, laughing freely. Eli hesitated on the edge, suddenly conscious of his polished shoes and pressed shirt. His leg creaked with each uncertain step. Then he heard her. "Eli," Anna came running, with a wide smile and a chalk smudge on her cheek. "You came." She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward a small trailer painted light blue. "Grandma, he's here." Miss Brooks emerged from the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Well, I will be," she said warmly. "Welcome, Eli. Come in." Inside. The trailer was cramped but cozy. The air smelled of cornbread and collard greens, family photos, smiling faces, graduations, birthdays, decorated the walls. Eli stared. His own house had portraits too, but they were stiff, professional, more like business contracts than mementos. "Sit down," Miss Brooks said gently. "Let's take a look at that leg of yours." Eli sat nervously on the couch as he examined the prosthesis. Anna stood nearby, offering him a can of soda with a bent straw. "Here," she said. "It's the nice cold from the freezer." Miss Brooks adjusted the plug, her touch firm but gentle. "This stuffing is all wrong," she murmured. "You're forcing your muscles to work against the device, not with it. That's why you're always sore." She looked at him. "When was the last time it was properly adjusted?" Eli shrugged. "I don't know." "Vivian said it's fine." Miss Brooks narrowed her eyes. "Well, it's not Vivian walking on him, is it?" Anna interrupted. "Grandma can fix that." She fixes my shoes all the time, Miss Brooks laughed. Shoes and prosthetics aren't the same thing, dear, but I can make a few adjustments until we find someone who can do it right. She disappeared into a back room and returned with a small toolbox. Carefully, she loosened the joint, moved the upholstery, and tightened the screws. When Eli stood up, the difference was immediate. The stiffness eased, the pain subsided. He took a cautious step, then another. Anna clapped her hands. See? Better. For the first time in months. Eli smiled. It really was an island. The moment was interrupted by the roar of a familiar engine outside. Tires squealed on gravel. Eli's heart raced. Through the thin curtains, he glimpsed the sleek black SUV pulling up. Vivian walked out, her heels clicking, her eyes sharp as knives. Eli, her voice cut through the trailer walls. What are you doing here? He froze. Anna squeezed his hand. Miss Brooks straightened, her jaw set. Vivian entered the trailer without waiting for an invitation. Her gaze swept the modest space, her nose wrinkling at the scent of roasted vegetables. Then her eyes landed on Eli. Grab your things. We're going. Eli's throat tightened, but they were helping me. Vivian's smile was thin and cold. Help? These people can't help you. They don't understand your needs, Eli. Your father has secured the best specialists money can buy. You don't belong here. Anna took a small but adamant step forward. He belongs anywhere he wants, she said vehemently. Vivian narrowed her eyes. Stay out of this. She reached out to grab Eli's arm, but Miss Brooke intercepted her, her voice calm but firm. With all due respect, ma'am, the boy is in pain. I saw the accessories. Something's not right. Vivian's mask cracked for a moment. Anger flashed across her face. She tightened her grip on Eli's arm. We'll discuss this at home. Eli looked at Anna, his eyes shining with loyalty. He wanted to stay. He wanted to shout that she was right, that Miss Brooke was right, that something was wrong. But fear gripped his chest. He lowered his head and let himself be carried away. The ride back was silent. Vivian's perfume filled the car, cloying and suffocating. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was like velvet wrapped around steel. You're not going back there, Eli. Do you understand? These people are not your friends. They are beneath you. He looked down at his hands, fighting back tears. Anna's words echoed in his mind. He belongs wherever he wants. For the first time, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, Vivian was lying. The next morning, Eli woke with a dull ache in his leg and a knot in his stomach. Sunlight streamed through his tall bedroom windows, reflecting off the polished frames and the shiny surfaces of untouched toys. He sat up slowly, running his hand over the blanket as if it might help. The memory of Vivian's cold voice from the night before echoed. You're not going back there. He pulled his knees closer and whispered into the silence. But they were helping me. At breakfast, the mansion's dining room glowed with crystal light fixtures and the smell of fresh coffee. Marcus sat at the head of the long mahogany table, his eyes on his tablet, flipping through reports. Vivian poured juice into Eli's glass. Her smile thin and practiced. We'll schedule a fitting this week, she said softly, buttering her toast. Dr. Reynolds will take another look at the prosthesis. He's the best in the state. Eli shifted in his seat. It doesn't feel right. Miss, Brooks said. Vivian's hand froze for a split second. The knife hovered over the toast. Then she set it down with exaggerated calm. Miss Brooks is not a doctor. She's a stranger. You don't need to listen to her. Marcus glanced up briefly, frowning. Who's Miss Brooks? No one important, Vivian replied quickly. Just someone who shouldn't be interfering. Ailey swallowed. His father's eyes softened for a moment. But then the tablet vibrated with a new message, and the moment passed. Marcus turned away, lost in business again. Vivian approached, her voice low and harsh enough for only Eli to hear. If you mention them again, you will lose what little freedom you have left. Understand? Eli's fork trembled in his hand. He nodded, though every part of him wanted to scream. That day, recess at school felt different. The bullies were still near the swings, whispering and pointing, but they didn't come any closer. Anna's defiance had shaken them. Eli walked more carefully, each step a reminder of the adjustments Miss Brooks had made. His legs still ached, but the stiffness had lessened somewhat. And he wondered what else could change if she could actually fix it. Anna spotted him near the slide and ran over to him. "Hey, did you feel better after yesterday?" Eli looked around nervously. "I shouldn't talk to you." Anna blinked and frowned. "Who said that?" He lowered his voice. "Vivian. She doesn't want me to see you. Neither does your grandmother." Anna crossed her arms, her face fierce. "How stupid. She can't tell you who her friends are." Eli wanted to believe her, but fear surrounded him like shadows. She's scary when she's angry." Anna tilted her head, reached into her pocket, and pulled out a small object. It was a toy wrench, chipped and scratched, clearly much loved. She placed it in his hand. "Keep this. As you hold her, remember you're not alone. Even if she screams, even if it's scary, you have me." Eli's throat tightened. He closed his fingers around the toy, feeling its solid weight. "Thank you," he whispered. That afternoon, Anna invited him to lunch with her again. They chose a table in the corner, out of the bully's sight. She picked up a peanut butter sandwich, wrapped in wax paper, and offered him half. "Grandma says food tastes better when you share." Eli hesitated. At home, meals were served with precision, measured and controlled. No one ever asked him to share. He picked up the sandwich and took a bite. It was simple, direct, and perfect. For a few minutes, they talked about inconsequential things. Dogs, cartoons, what they wanted to be when they grew up. Anna declared that she wanted to be an inventor. "I'll build machines that fix things people say can't be fixed," she said proudly. Like her leg, Eli smiled despite himself. "Maybe I can help." Her eyes lit up. "See, we'd make a great team after school." While Eli waited for the SUV, Anna and Miss Brooks approached. Vivian's car hadn't arrived yet, so the air felt almost safe. Miss Brooks crouched down to his level. "I've been thinking, dear, if you'll let me, I can show you how to walk with more power, not just with adjustments, but with exercise. Your muscles need the right training, not more restrictions." Eli nodded eagerly, but fear soon followed. "Vivian won't let you." Miss Brooks placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You have more say than you think. Don't forget that." The SUV stopped then, and Vivian stepped out. Her heels clicking against the asphalt. Her eyes narrowed as she saw the Brookses. "I thought I made myself clear," she said coolly. Anna stepped in front of Eli without hesitation. "He was just talking to us. He's our friend." Vivian's smile sharpened like glass. "Friendship isn't what he needs. What he needs is discipline." She grabbed Eli's arm and led him toward the car. Inside the SUV, Eli held the toy wrench in his pocket. Vivian's voice dripped with contempt. "You will not disobey me again. These people are beneath you. They don't know what's best for you." But as the city passed by the window, Eli tightened his grip on the wrench. For the first time, he felt the faintest spark of defiance. He whispered it so softly she couldn't hear it. "They know what's best for me, better than you do." That night, in the safety of his room, he recalled the day. Anna's fierce defense, Miss Brooks's calm certainty, the taste of the sandwich. He kept the toy wrench under his pillow, like a secret promise. Vivian could control his schedule, his diet, his therapy, but she couldn't control the truth he now carried. The truth that the friendship was real. The truth that his pain wasn't normal. The truth that someone out there believed him. As sleep overtook him, Eli imagined a future without marble walls or polished floors, a future where Anna and his grandmother helped him walk without pain, where bullies' voices faded, and where Vivian's power no longer defined his world. It was just a dream for now, fragile and distant, but it was his, and for the first time, Eli dared to dream of freedom. Sunday afternoons at Hart Mansion were supposed to be peaceful. Housekeepers polished the marble floors to a shine, and gardeners trimmed the hedges into perfect shapes. Everything seemed flawless. But Eli sat on the back steps of the porch, staring at the fountain as if it were mocking him. The water danced freely, spilling over the stone ledges, while his own body felt trapped by gears and screws. He fingered the small toy wrench in his pocket, the one Anna had given him. He held it tightly, reminding himself he wasn't alone. That night, Marcus finally got a break from his endless meetings. He sat in his office, papers scattered across his desk, his glasses perched on his nose. Eli stood hesitantly in the doorway. "Dad?" His voice was low. Marcus looked up, smiling slightly. "Hey, champ, come in." Eli shuffled forward. The click of his prosthetic echoed in the silent room. "I wanted to tell you something. About school." Marcus sat back, putting the papers aside. "Continue." "I met a girl, Anna, and her grandmother. They helped me with my leg. She said it wasn't feeling well, and when she healed it a bit, I felt better. I could walk better." The words came out in a rush, desperate for faith. Marcus frowned. "Seriously? How interesting. Did she say what was wrong?" "She said the filling was all wrong and the screws were too tight. She knew more than the doctor. She said I shouldn't be so sore." Before Marcus could respond, the door opened. Vivian walked in, her heels clicking loudly on the wood. "Marcus, don't listen to this nonsense," she said softly. "He's been spending too much time with that child. They're filling his head with silly ideas." Marcus turned to her, frowning. "Vivian, he says he feels better. We can't ignore that." His smile narrowed. "They're amateurs. Do you really want to risk your child's health because of the opinions of strangers?" Eli's chest tightened. He wanted to scream, to beg his father to listen to him. But Marcus sighed, rubbing his temples. "Let's take a look," he said vaguely. Already picking up the papers again, Vivian's eyes shone with victory. She placed her hand on Eli's shoulder, squeezing a little too tightly. "Look, there's nothing to worry about. Now, go to bed." That night, Eli lay awake, staring at the ceiling. His father's words were timid, a promise that faded before it was even spoken, but Anna's voice echoed in his mind. Normal doesn't mean right. He turned onto his side, grabbing the wrench from under his pillow. "I'll find a way," he whispered in the darkness. The next day at school, Anna was waiting by the swings, smiling broadly. "Well," she asked. "Did you tell him?" Eli nodded dejectedly. He listened, but Vivian interrupted him. She always interrupted him. Anna crossed her arms, frowning. "She doesn't want you to get better." Eli cringed. "Why wouldn't she?" Anna shrugged, but her gaze was piercing. "Some people like to be in control. If you're hurting, you need her. If you're strong, you don't." Her words weighed heavily on his chest. He didn't want to believe it, but deep down he knew. Vivian liked him weak. Vivian liked him dependent. At recess, the bullies returned, though less bold than before. One of them muttered, "Look, it's his broken toy and his bodyguard." They threw a wad of paper at him, but Anna was so close that they missed. Eli didn't even react. For once, the words went unnoticed. All he could think about was the truth unfolding within him. Anna was right. That afternoon, Anna pulled him toward the fence again. "Grandma said you should come after school. She can show you exercises that will make you stronger." Ellie's heart was pounding. He glanced at the SUV parked at the curb. What if Vivian finds out? Then we'll be quick, Anna said firmly. 5 minutes, that's all. Before he could lose his nerve, Eli walked her through the gate. They ran down the block until they reached the small trailer. Miss Brooks greeted them with a knowing smile. I figured you'd be back, she said. She cleared a space in the living room and laid out a faded rug. Now, let's start simple. She showed him how to shift his weight, how to balance on his good leg while stretching the muscles of the other. Anna demonstrated beside him, laughing as she staggered. Eli tried, sweat forming on his forehead, but when he managed 3 steady steps across the carpet, Miss Brooks applauded. That's it, darling. You have more strength than they've let you use. Eli's chest swelled with something he hadn't felt in years, pride. He looked at Anna, who was beaming. See? I told you, But the moment was broken by the sound of tires on gravel. The SUV stopped outside again. Vivian's harsh voice cut through the air. Eli, he froze. Panic gripped him. Miss Brooks placed a calming hand on his shoulder. Don't be afraid. You didn't do anything wrong. The door opened. Vivian's eyes flashed as she walked in. Enough of this, she snapped. I told you to stay away from them. Eli's hands trembled. Anna stepped in front of him again, defiant. He could walk better now. Why don't you want this? Vivian's face contorted, but she quickly masked it with her practiced smile. You don't understand, she said sweetly. It's dangerous for him to experiment. He needs proper care. Miss Brooks straightened, her voice calm but firm. Proper care doesn't mean leaving a child to suffer. I've worked with patients long enough to know when something's wrong. Vivian's eyes flashed, a flash of anger quickly masked. She grabbed Eli's arm, pulling him toward the door. Let's go. This time. Something inside Eli resisted. He pulled back a little, his voice shaky but clear. I want to stay. They're helping me. Vivian squeezed my arm tighter. Don't challenge me, Dara. For a moment, silence filled the trailer, tension crackling like electricity. Eli's heart pounded. Anna's small hand brushed against his, squeezing lightly. He drew strength from her. Then Marcus's voice echoed outside. Vivian, what's going on here? Everyone froze. Marcus walked through the door, confusion written all over his face. His eyes moved from Eli's flushed cheeks to Vivian's iron grip, then to Miss Brooks, standing there. Vivian's smile returned instantly. Marcus, honey, I was just picking up Eli. He pulled away again, but Marcus's gaze remained on his son. Is it true? He asked gently. Eli's throat went dry. This was his chance. He could tell the truth. Finally, he could be heard. His fingers tightened on the toy wrench in his pocket, and he looked at his father, his voice trembling but firm. I came here because they're helping me. My leg feels better after they fixed it. I don't want to stop. Vivian's smile faltered. Marcus's eyes darkened as he stared at her. And in that moment, Eli knew. The fight for the truth had finally begun. Monday morning dawned grey and heavy, as if the sky itself held secrets too heavy to keep. Eli sat in the back seat of the SUV, his fingers gripping the toy wrench Anna had given him. The memory of the previous day's confrontation haunted him. Vivian's handshake, Miss Brooks's defiant calm, his father's piercing gaze. He had spoken up for the first time, and Marcus had seen him differently, not as a fragile boy, not as a burden, but as someone who spoke the truth. That flash of recognition gave Eli courage, even as the city passed by his window. At school, recess was abuzz with noise. But Eli walked taller, the adjustments Miss Brooks had made still holding, and the exercises she had taught him remained in his muscles. He moved with more confidence, though the clicking of his prosthesis hadn't gone away. The bullies noticed. One of them muttered, "Look who thinks they're normal now." They chuckled softly, but didn't come any closer. Their bravado had diminished since Anna had stood up to them. Anna ran over, her braids swinging. "You did it," she whispered excitedly. "You told your dad, didn't you?" Eli nodded, a shy smile on his lips. "I think he believed me, at least a little," she smiled. "That's great. Adults don't usually listen, but he will, if you keep telling the truth." In class, Eli found himself raising his hand more often. The teacher seemed surprised when he answered correctly, as if she'd never expected much from him. At lunch, he and Anna sat together in their corner, sharing sandwiches again. Each bite tasted like defiance, like proof that he was no longer invisible. But when the final bell rang, the fear returned. The SUV pulled up to the curb, and Vivian's silhouette was visible through the tinted glass. She was waiting. Eli's chest tightened. On the way home, silence filled the car until Vivian finally spoke. "You embarrassed me yesterday," she said coldly. "In front of your father. You won't repeat that mistake." Eli looked at his hands. "It wasn't a mistake. I was telling the truth." His eyes gleamed in the rearview mirror. "The truth." His voice was icy. "The truth is what I've decided, Island, and you'll learn that, Eli." When they arrived at the mansion, Marcus was back in his office. Eli hesitated at the door, then entered. "Dad, can I talk to you?" Marcus put down the tablet, curiosity in his eyes. "Of course." "Ah." Vivian appeared almost instantly, with a forced smile. "Marcus, don't let this get to you. He's confused." Eli interrupted her, his voice shaky but firm. "I'm not confused. My leg isn't well. Miss Brooks fixed it, even if only a little, and it's better. Why don't you listen to me?" Marcus's gaze sharpened, flicking between them. "Vivian, is there any reason we didn't get a second opinion?" Her mask slipped for a split second. "Because we already have the best specialists," she said quickly. "Anything else would be a waste of time and would put her health at risk." Eli's fists clenched. "It hurts every day. Shouldn't the best doctors make it stop hurting?" Marcus's face softened with concern. "He's right." He leaned back in his chair, tapping a pen on the desk. "I'll schedule an independent evaluation." Discreetly. Vivian's smile froze. "Marcus, it's decided," he said firmly. For the first time, Eli felt the weight shift. The balance of power was no longer entirely in Vivian's hands. That night, he dreamed he was running. Without stumbling, without creaking, but running freely across the grass. Anna ran beside him, laughing, the sound joyful and fearless. When he woke, the dream clung to him like a promise. The next day, Anna asked about his father. Eli told her everything. His voice was quiet but anxious. She listened, nodding. "See, you're stronger than you think. People listen when you speak." At recess, the bullies tried again, circling like vultures. "Your girlfriend's fixing your robotic leg," one of them scoffed. "What's next? She's going to build you a whole body." But before Eli could shrink, Anna stepped forward. "At least he's brave enough to keep walking. You wouldn't last a day in his shoes." The boys hesitated, unsure how to react. Eli felt something rise inside him, a quiet boldness. "You're right," he said clearly. "You wouldn't last a day, duh." The expression on their faces was worth every click of the prosthetic. They backed away, grumbling, their power fading before his newfound voice. After class, Marcus surprised him by arriving in person. He crouched down to Eli's level, his expression serious. "We'll see a different doctor tomorrow. Just you and me. Don't tell Vivian yet." Eli's heart raced. Seriously, Marcus said. "If something's wrong, we'll fix it." No. That night, as Vivian tucked him into bed, her smile was too wide, very sharp. "Remember what I said," she whispered. "You need me. Don't forget." But under the blanket, Eli's hand found the toy wrench. He held it tightly, thinking of Anna's steady eyes and Miss Brooks's gentle hands. For the first time, he knew her words weren't true. He didn't need Vivian. What he needed was courage. And now, finally, he had some of it. Tuesday morning dawned bright and clear, but Eli's stomach was in knots as he buttoned his uniform shirt. Vivian had left early for a charity brunch, which meant the air in the mansion was lighter than usual. Marcus appeared at Eli's bedroom door, already dressed in a simple blazer instead of his usual tailored suit. "Ready, champ?" he asked, his tone gentler than Eli had heard in months. Eli nodded quickly, his heart racing. This was it, the secret meeting. The SUV pulled out of the estate gates and into the busy streets of Atlanta. Eli stared out the window, clutching the toy wrench in his pocket like a talisman. He whispered to himself, "Normal doesn't mean right." The words Anna had planted in him now, his mantra. Marcus reached out and squeezed her shoulder. "No need to be nervous. We're just getting another opinion." "Will Vivian be mad?" Eli asked softly. Marcus hesitated before answering. Vivian cares in her own way, but sometimes caring means being too controlling. This is about you, not her. You deserve to feel better. They arrived at a modest medical building near Emory University, much more modest than the luxurious clinics Vivian preferred. Inside, the air smelled faintly of antiseptic and coffee. A young woman at the front desk smiled warmly as Marcus checked them in. Within minutes, they were ushered into a small examination room where Dr. Patel, a prosthetics specialist, greeted them. She knelt down at Eli's eye level, her gaze gentle and steady. "Hi, Eli. I hear you've been very brave." Eli blinked, unaccustomed to being treated like a person instead of a project. "My leg hurts," he admitted. "It's always tight and makes a lot of noise." Dr. Patel nodded. "Let's take a look at it together." She examined the prosthesis carefully, checking the fit, padding, and alignment. She frowned slightly and adjusted her glasses. "This doesn't feel right. In fact, it looks purposefully disheveled." "Oh," Marcus stiffened. "Purposefully, yes," she said cautiously. "The padding is uneven, pressing where it shouldn't. The joint screws are improperly tightened. These aren't the kinds of mistakes a top expert would accidentally make." Eli's heart raced. He looked at his father, desperate for him to believe him. "That's what Miss Brooks said," he whispered. Marcus's jaw tightened. And she was right. Dr. Patel adjusted some components and replaced the padding. "This is temporary," she said, "but he should feel immediate relief." As Eli stood and took a cautious step, he gasped. The sharp pain that had haunted him for years was duller now, almost gone. He crossed the small room, his face lighting up. "It doesn't hurt as much." Marcus's eyes softened, pride and anger mingling. "You're amazing." "Son," he turned to Dr. Patel, "what could cause this kind of situation? Carelessness? Negligence?" Dr. Patel hesitated. "It seems intentional. Sometimes there are financial incentives for frequent adjustments and replacements. The more dependent the patient, the more lucrative the case." Marcus's face fell. He thanked him, promised to schedule a full evaluation, and led Eli back to the car. As the SUV drove away, Marcus stared out the window, his fists clenched. "Someone's been lying to us," he said softly, "and I'm going to find out who." At school that afternoon, Eli found Anna waiting by the fence. He ran to her, his steps firmer than before. "It worked!" he exclaimed. "The doctor said you and your grandmother were right." Anna's smile nearly broke her face. "I knew it. You know, adults don't always know everything. Sometimes children do." Eli nodded eagerly. "Dad believes me now. He saw it himself." But before they could celebrate any further, a shadow fell over them. One of the bullies from before, the tall boy with the piercing gaze, scoffed. "Why are you so happy? One leg. Your little girlfriend fixed you with duct tape," he snorted. "A broken toy and a poor black girl. A perfect match." Eli's chest tightened, but this time he didn't flinch. Anna stepped forward, her fists clenched. "Leave him alone," she snapped. The boy laughed. picking up a pile of trash from the ground and throwing it at them. The trash hit Eli's shoulder. What's she going to do? Fix you up with her junkyard tools? Something inside Eli sparked. He took a step forward, his voice shaky but firm. She's already healed me, and she's braver than you'll ever be. The bully hesitated, surprised by Eli's sudden boldness. The children nearby stopped to watch, and the whispers grew louder. Anna smiled, her pride beaming. You heard it. Now. Back off. A teacher's whistle blew across the courtyard, interrupting the moment. The bully muttered something under his breath and slunk away. Eli's knees trembled, but Anna patted him on the back. You did it, she whispered. You stood up. That night at dinner, Vivian studied Eli with narrowed eyes. You look different today, she said coldly. Eli met her gaze, something new burning in his chest. It's because I am. Marcus looked between them, sensing the undercurrent. He cleared his throat. Vivian, we need to talk. Privately, her smile faltered, but she rose gracefully. Of course, dear. Eli remained silent, but under the table his fingers found the toy wrench. He held it tightly, feeling the weight of Anna's courage, Miss Brooks's wisdom, and his father's growing faith. For the first time, he felt the balance tip. The lies were beginning to crumble. Later, in the silence of his room, Eli whispered into the darkness, She won't win. Not this time. He closed his eyes. The dream of running returned, more intense now, closer than ever. The next morning, the rain had stopped, and the sky over Atlanta was a brilliant blue. Eli walked into school with his shoulders straighter than usual. The adjustments Dr. Patel had made were still in place. Each step felt lighter, less painful. For the first time in years, he didn't dread the long walk from the front gate to the classroom. Anna noticed immediately. She came running across the playground, backpack swinging. "You're walking better!" she shouted, her eyes wide with excitement. "See, I told you it wasn't supposed to hurt." Eli couldn't help the smile that spread across his face. "It really doesn't feel like it. Not like before. My father saw it too. He believes me now." Anna smiled radiantly and puffed out her chest dramatically. "Well, that's because you had the best team. Me and Grandma." She leaned closer, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "And you spoke up. That's the brave part." Their moment was interrupted when a familiar group of boys crossed the courtyard. The tallest one, who had ridiculed them so many times before, wore a wry smile. "Look who thinks they can walk now," he sneered. The robot boy and his little maid. He gave Anna a wry smile. "I bet you polished his leg this morning, huh?" The others laughed, pushing each other. Anna put her hands on her hips. "You need to stop," she said loudly. Her voice was sharp enough to draw the attention of the other children nearby. But the taller boy wasn't finished yet. He bent down and picked up a handful of wet straw from the ground. With a cruel smile, he threw it at Eli. The clump of dirt splattered Eli's shirt, leaving dark stains. The crowd gasped, then laughed nervously. Eli froze, humiliation weighing him down like a heavy stone. He wanted to shrink away, but before he could, Anna jumped in front of him, arms outstretched. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice shaking with fury. "You're nothing but bullies. Everyone can see it." The boys laughed, but their laughter faltered. Other children watched, whispering. Some of them didn't seem amused. "You're protecting him because he's broke," the tall boy scoffed, "and you're just a poor black girl. No one cares what you say." The words cut through the air like knives. For a moment, the playground seemed silent. Eli's stomach churned with shame and anger. He looked at Anna, waiting for her to give in to the cruelty. But she didn't. Her chin rose even higher, her small fists clenched. "Maybe I'm poor, maybe I'm black," she said, her voice strong and clear, "but at least I'm not cruel. At least I'm not a coward." Sighs echoed through the crowd. The tall boy's face flushed. He took a step forward, clenching his fists. For the first time, Eli felt something light up in his chest. He approached Anna, his voice trembling but firm. "She's right. You couldn't handle what I go through every day. You couldn't handle a single morning on one leg. You think hurting people makes you stronger, but it only makes you weaker." The crowd erupted in whispers. The tall boy froze, his mouth opening and closing without saying anything. A teacher's whistle broke the tension. "Break the tension! Everyone inside!" the teacher shouted. The bullies backed away, their shoulders hunched. As the rest of the children dispersed, Eli's shirt was still stained, but his heart was pounding with renewed pride. For the first time, he had spoken up, not just for himself, but for Anna as well. She turned to him, her smile fierce. "That was incredible. You scolded him." Eli blushed but smiled. "I couldn't let him talk about you like that." At lunch, they sat together in their usual corner. Anna grabbed another peanut butter sandwich and offered him half. "You know," she said between bites, "people like him only win if you keep quiet. You haven't been quiet today. That means you're winning." "Oh," Eli thought as he chewed. The sandwich was even better than yesterday's. After school, the SUV was waiting. Vivian sat inside, her lips pursed in disapproval. She eyed the stains on his shirt, her eyes narrowing. "What happened?" "Nothing," Eli replied quickly, not wanting to give her the satisfaction. "Don't lie to me," she retorted. "Did that girl have something to do with it?" Eli hesitated and shook his head. Bullies do." Vivian leaned back with a cold smile. "Bullies are everywhere, Eli. You better get used to it. Not everyone will protect you." But Eli thought of Anna standing in front of him, her voice echoing across the playground. "At least I'm not a coward." He looked into Vivian's eyes, and for the first time, "Didn't move. I don't need everyone to protect me," he said softly. "Just one true friend is enough." Her smile faltered, just a little. She turned her gaze to the window, ending the conversation. That night, Marcus passed by Eli's room. He sat on the edge of the bed, watching his son's face. "You've been different lately," he said. "Stronger. What's changed?" Eli hesitated, then pulled the toy wrench from under his pillow. "I have a friend," he said simply. "And though she believes in me, that makes me stronger." Marcus's gaze softened. He messed up Eli's hair, something he hadn't done in years. "I'm glad you found this. Everyone deserves at least one person who believes in them." When the lights went out, Eli lay awake. His hand gripped the wrench. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel completely alone. The bully's words still stung, but Anna's courage echoed louder. The path ahead was still uncertain. But now he knew he had the strength to keep going. Marcus Hart had built his empire on order and precision. But lately, his home seemed anything but organized. He'd noticed a few subtle things, disturbing things about the son's condition: Eli's limp, the stiffness of his walk, the haunted look in his eyes when Vivian dismissed his complaints. And now, after Dr. Patel's evaluation, the doubts plagued him even more intensely. Sitting in his office late at night, Marcus reviewed the test results. They showed traces of a sedative in Eli's system, a drug that should never have been there. His chest tightened as he read the report again, the truth weighing heavier with each word. Someone was interfering with his son's health. The next morning, Marcus personally drove Eli to school. It was a rare occurrence, and Eli seemed surprised and pleased. "Does that mean you're coming to get me too?" he asked hopefully. Marcus gave a slight smile. "If I can, champ. I just want to see how you're doing." When Eli got out of the car, his gait was still cautious, but firmer than before. Marcus watched him disappear into the red brick building. His small body was swallowed up by the crowd. He stood there for a moment longer, His hands gripped the steering wheel, fighting the weight of distrust. Vivian had been overseeing Eli's treatments for years. What if she was responsible for his irregularities? At recess, Eli and Anna sat in the shade of the oak tree near the edge of the playground. Anna opened a small bag of chips she'd saved from lunch. She poured half into Eli's palm. Then, with her mouth full, she said, "What did your father say about the doctor?" Eli's face lit up. "He believes me now. He's going to do more tests. And he said he doesn't want Vivian to know yet." Anna's smile widened. "That's great. If your father's on your side, things can change." Eli nodded, though a shadow crossed his face. "Vivian is scary when she's angry. She said the truth is what she decides on the island." Anna frowned. "That's not true. The truth is the truth, and now you have proof." Their moment was interrupted again by the bullies. The taller one approached, his mischievous grin already on display. "Still playing house with your little bodyguard?" He scoffed. He grabbed a juice box from the tray and opened it, threatening to spill it before Eli could flinch. Anna jumped to her feet. "Don't even try," she warned, her voice loud enough for the other kids to hear. The bully hesitated, then scoffed. "You think you're tough, don't you?" He raised his juice, but a teacher's voice cut through the playground. "Enough, hand it over." The boy grumbled softly and slunk away, and Anna sat back down triumphantly. "See, they're cowards when anyone's watching." Eli smiled nervously. "You're braver than me." Anna shook her head. "Gee, a number you're learning. You stood up last time, remember? That's how it starts." Later that afternoon, Marcus returned from work early and went straight to Vivian. She was in the solarium, sipping tea, her posture impeccable as ever. "Vivian," he said calmly, "why are there sedatives in Eli's system?" His hand froze around the teacup, though his smile didn't fade. "Sedatives? It must be a mistake. You know how unreliable some labs can be." Marcus gritted his teeth. "I reviewed the results 3 times. It wasn't a mistake." She set the cup down gently. "Marcus, you've been under a lot of stress. Maybe you're seeing problems where there aren't any. Eli's condition has always required careful management." "Careful management doesn't mean drugging him," Marcus retorted, his voice harsher than he intended. "If you've been giving him anything—" Her eyes flashed with indignation. "How dare you accuse me? Everything I did was for Eli. For his safety. You're the one who's always too busy with meetings to notice when he's hurting." The words struck him deeply, but Marcus was unfazed. "I may have been away, but I'm here now, and I won't let anyone hurt my son." Vivian stood, her face pale, but her voice low and venomous. "You think you can take control now? You'll regret hurting me." Marcus held her gaze. "The only person who should regret anything is the person who made my son suffer." That night, Eli heard snatches of their argument in the hallway. His heart pounded as he pressed his ear to the wall. The words sedatives and lies hung in the air. His body trembled with fear, but also with relief. His father knew. He was no longer alone. The next day, Marcus scheduled another appointment for Eli with Dr. Patel, this time for a more thorough evaluation. Eli walked into the clinic with Anna's words echoing in his head. "Now you have proof." "Doctor." Patel welcomed him warmly, guiding him through balance tests, strength exercises, and scans. Each result painted the same picture. The prosthesis had been deliberately mismanaged, his body weakened by the interference. As they left, Marcus looked at his son. "This ends now," he said firmly. "No more secrets." Eli swallowed. "What about Vivian?" Marcus's expression hardened. "If she's behind this, she won't be in this house much longer." At school that afternoon, Eli couldn't wait to tell Anna. He ran across the playground. His steps were firmer than ever. "It's true," he whispered excitedly. The doctor said everything was wrong on purpose. My father will stop her. Anna's eyes widened and she was filled with triumph. I knew it. She can't win if you and your father are together. Eli nodded. His heart was pounding, filled with equal parts fear and hope. For the first time, he could glimpse the possibility of freedom not only from the pain in his leg, but from the shadow that had haunted his home for so long. That night, the mansion of his heart shone with its usual grandeur, chandeliers glinting against the polished marble floor. But the atmosphere was tense, fragile, like glass about to crack. Eli sat at the long dining table, his fork poised, pushing broccoli around his plate. Marcus sat at the head, eerily silent. His eyes fixed on Vivian across the table. She cut the steak with deliberate precision, her smile plastered on her face, but her knuckles white around the knife. Finally, Marcus broke the silence. Vivian, we need to talk about Eli's care. I evaluated him independently. Dr. Patel confirmed what we suspected. His prosthesis was deliberately misaligned, and sedatives were found in his system. I want an explanation. The knife clattered against the plate. Vivian's face flushed. But she quickly recovered. I don't know what kind of charlatan this Patel is, but she's mistaken. I've done everything I could to protect Eli. Those doctors you hired earlier, the specialists, they agreed with me. Marcus narrowed his eyes. Did they? Or did you make sure they only told me what you wanted me to hear? Eli froze, his heart pounding. He'd never heard his father speak to Vivian like that before. Vivian leaned forward, her voice icy. You're accusing me of sabotage, of poisoning your son. Marcus, this is outrageous. Marcus's voice was firm, unyielding. I'm accusing you of something worse, treason. If you were willing to compromise Eli's health for control, then I need to know why. Were you being paid? Was it greed, or was it something else? Vivian's eyes flickered, just for a moment. Then her smile returned, cold and sharp. Careful, Marcus. You don't want to start destroying this family based on the complaints of a child and the word of a neighborhood grandmother. Eli's chest tightened, but he pushed back his chair. Her little voice cutting through the tension. It's not just her. I feel it. Every day. It hurts, and now I know it shouldn't. You were lying to me. The words fell like stones. Marcus's gaze softened toward Eli, but hardened when he returned to Vivian. Enough lies, he said. Tomorrow we're going public with new experts. I'll move on without you. Vivian's mask cracked, her lips quivering with anger. You'll regret this, Marcus, both of you. She rose from the table, her heels clicking sharply on the floor as she stormed away. Eli's appetite had completely vanished. He whispered, "She hates me." Marcus reached across the table and placed his hand over his son's. No, Eli. She hates the truth, and the truth is on her side. The next day at school, Eli felt the weight of what had happened. Anna sensed it immediately. You look tired, she said, handing him a foil-wrapped cookie. Is something wrong? Eli bit into the cookie, tasting its sweetness. My father confronted Vivian. He believes me now. But she's furious, very furious. Anna's eyes gleamed with determination. Fine, let her be angry. This means she's losing. But the bullies hadn't given up either. During recess, the tall boy cornered them near the fence. With his friends by his side, I heard your father's rich wife is in trouble, he scoffed. I don't think she even wants you. He grabbed a handful of gravel and threw it at Eli's shoes. No one wants a broken child. Before Eli could react, Anna stepped between them, her voice harsh. You don't know anything. He's stronger than you'll ever be. And at least he has someone who cares about him. The tall boy snorted. You're nothing. Just a poor black girl who thinks she matters. The cruelty hit her hard, but Anna was unfazed. I do matter, she said firmly, and so does he. That's why you'll never beat us. The teacher's whistle sounded again, dispersing the crowd. Eli's legs trembled, but inside something stronger took root. Anna's words weren't just for him, they were for her too. She was fighting the same battle he was against a world that wanted to make them feel small. That afternoon, Marcus picked up Eli. Instead of going home, he drove downtown and stopped at a quiet cafe. They sat at a corner table, away from prying ears. Marcus leaned in, his voice low. Eli, I need you to tell me everything, every time you felt different. Every time something didn't feel right. Don't leave anything out. Eli swallowed hard and began. He told his father about the stiffness, the constant pain, the way Vivian always ignored him. He described the strange taste in his drinks, the times he felt dizzy for no reason. He even confessed to being afraid to speak. Marcus listened intently, his jaw clenching with every word. When Eli finished, Marcus reached across the table. You were brave, son, braver than I imagined. I should have seen it before, but I swear I see it now. I should have. Eli's throat burned. He blinked hard, but the tears still fell. I just wish someone would believe me. Marcus pulled him into a tight, firm hug. I believe in you, and I will never doubt you again. That night, when they returned home, Vivian was waiting in the lobby, a fragile smile on her face. Where have you been? She asked. Marcus's voice was calm, but there was an unyielding firmness. With my son, discovering the truth. Their eyes flickered, suspicions simmering, but Eli stood straighter, holding his father's hand. For the first time, he didn't feel small under her gaze. He felt protected, supported by the truth. Later, lying in bed, Eli grabbed the toy wrench from under his pillow. He whispered Anna's words to himself. This means she's losing. For the first time, he believed. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was fighting back, and he wasn't alone. The next morning, the mansion looked different. Eli realized it the moment he came down to breakfast. The sunlight streaming through the tall windows seemed stronger, more intense. As if the house itself sensed the storm brewing within its walls, Marcus sat at the table with a folder open in front of him, his jaw tense, his coffee untouched. Vivian entered moments later, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, her perfume strong enough to make the air heavy. She glanced at Marcus, then at Eli, with a quick but fragile smile. We need to talk, Marcus said, closing the folder with deliberate calm. The three of us. Vivian's eyes twinkled, but her voice remained soft. Of course, dear. What are you thinking? Eli sat stiffly, his small hands folded in his lap. He could feel the tension radiating between them. Marcus looked directly at Vivian. I spoke with Dr. Patel again. She confirmed that Eli's prosthesis was deliberately altered, and the lab tests leave no doubt that he had sedatives in his system. Vivian's smile froze. And you believe this Patel guy over me? Over the experts I've worked with for years. I believe my son, Marcus said firmly. His voice was firm, but beneath it was a harshness Eli had rarely heard. He's been suffering for years, and you ignored it. I won't allow it anymore. Vivian narrowed her eyes. What now? You're ready to kick me out because of some lab results and a child's complaints. Eli's chest tightened, but Marcus's hand brushed his shoulder gently. This isn't about kicking anyone out, Marcus said. It's about the truth, and the truth is, Eli deserves better. Vivian's lips trembled, her mask cracking for just a second before she forced a laugh. You don't understand what's at stake. You're a businessman, Marcus. You know better than anyone that appearances matter. Eli's condition and limitations don't match the image of strength this family projects. I was just trying to protect him, Protect ourselves. Eli's eyes widened. The words burned like ice. Protecting him. Keeping him weak. He wanted to scream. But Marcus spoke first, his voice as firm as steel. Protecting us, or himself. The silence stretched on, sharp and suffocating. Vivian's hands trembled on her teacup. For the first time, she sounded less like the impeccable stepmother and more like someone cornered. "You'll regret this," she whispered. Eli stood up suddenly, her small body trembling, but her voice clear. I regret listening to you. You made me think I was broken. You made me think suffering was normal, but it's not. I'm stronger than you wanted me to be." The words hung in the air like thunder. Vivian's face paled, her mask of composure finally crumbling. Marcus looked at his son with pride in his eyes, then back at Vivian. It was over. "You won't make any other decisions about Eli's health. I'll take care of everything from here." Vivian turned abruptly, storming out of the room. The sound of her heels echoed down the hallway until the door slammed shut behind her. Eli exhaled shakily, his knees weak, but inside he felt something intensely relieved, defiant, and hope was intertwined. That afternoon, Marcus picked Eli up from school again. Anna was waiting near the swings, and her face lit up when she saw him. "You're walking even better today," she said proudly. "Did something happen?" Eli smiled, though his eyes still held a trace of weariness. My father believes me now. He told Vivian she couldn't control me anymore." Anna clapped her hands, her voice full of joy. "Yes, I knew he'd change his mind. Now she can't stop you from getting better." They sat together on the swing, the chains creaking softly. Eli told her all about the test results, the breakfast argument, and how his father finally sided with him. Anna listened intently, nodding along with every detail. "And that means you're winning," she said when he finished. "The truth always wins, even if it takes a while." But the joy was short-lived. After school, as they walked toward the gate, the bullies appeared again. The tall boy smiled, arms crossed. "I hear your stepmother is in trouble. I think even your fancy family's falling apart." Anna narrowed her eyes. "Don't start," the boy scoffed. "Why not? It's fun to watch him squirm. You think just because your dad's rich. Everything's going to be okay. You're still just a broken kid, and you—" He pointed his finger at Anna. "You're nothing more than a charity case to him." Something inside Eli snapped. He took a step forward, his voice shaky but powerful. "You can't talk about her like that. She's the bravest person I know. She stood up for me when no one else would. And you hide behind your friends and your words. That makes you weaker than me." The gathered crowd murmured in surprise. Anna's face lit up with pride. The bully opened his mouth, but a teacher's voice cut him off abruptly. "Enough. Inside, all of you." As the crowd dispersed, Anna squeezed Eli's hand. "You were amazing," she whispered. "See, you're not just stronger, you're fearless now." That night, Marcus and Eli returned to the mansion and discovered Vivian missing. A note sat on the counter, written in her elegant handwriting. "You've made your choice. Don't expect me to just watch." Marcus read it silently and crumpled the note in his hand. "She'll be back," he murmured seriously. "Not because she cares, but because she hates to lose. We need to be ready." Eli's stomach churned with fear, but his father knelt before him, his gaze steady. "We will protect you, Eli, I promise. No more lies, no more pain." That night, as Eli lay in bed, he grabbed the toy wrench from under his pillow. The house seemed quieter without Vivian, but the silence was deceptive. Like the calm before the storm, he whispered Anna's words to himself again. The truth always wins. He didn't know what Vivian would do next, but for the first time he believed he had the strength to face it. In his dreams, He was no longer limping. He ran fast, free, with Anna at his side, her laughter echoing in the air, and when he looked over his shoulder, he saw the mansion shrinking behind him, no longer a cage, but just a building he had finally left behind. The next week began with a strange calm in the Hart household. Vivian had not returned since leaving her note, and for the first time, the mansion seemed almost peaceful. The air was lighter without her strong presence, though Eli could sense the underlying discomfort beneath his father's calm demeanor. Marcus seemed more attentive now, checking on Eli's meals, asking about school, and even helping him with his exercises. Yet there was a heaviness in his eyes. The heaviness of a man who knew the storm was far from over. On Monday morning, Eli walked into school with a firmer stride. Anna spotted him near the entrance and ran up to him, smiling broadly. "You look taller today," she said with a playful smile. Eli chuckled softly. "I think it's just the new filler Dr. Patel gave me. It doesn't hurt anymore, not like it used to. That's what happens when people really care about you," Anna said firmly. "And now you have more than one person. Your father believes in you. That means everything." Eli nodded, feeling his chest warm. "Yeah, but I'm afraid Vivian will come back. She probably will," Anna admitted, her voice firm. "But that doesn't mean she'll win. You've already told the truth. Once it's revealed, people can no longer hide." "Oh, during recess, the bullies tried to test him again." The tall boy approached with his usual arrogant, ironic air, tossing a rock back and forth in his hand. "Look at you walking like you're a somebody. Do you think your father's money will fix you forever?" Eli straightened a little, though his heart pounded. "It's not about the money. It's about being honest. And you wouldn't understand that." The boy laughed harshly. "Honestly, please, you're just a broken kid hiding behind your rich dad and your loudmouth friend." He pointed at Anna. "And she's dragging you down." Eli clenched his fists. But Anna stepped forward before he could speak. "He's not broken," she snapped, "and if being his friend is dragging him down, then I'll drag him up even higher, louder than you'll ever reach." Gasps and murmurs echoed through the watching crowd. The boy's face flushed, but for once he didn't respond. The teacher's whistle blew, scattering the children, and Eli realized something had changed. The insults weren't working anymore. Their cruelty had lost its effect. That afternoon, Marcus surprised Eli by taking him straight to Miss Brooks's trailer after school. Anna nearly burst with joy when she saw them. "You came, both of you." Marcus smiled slightly, though the weariness was visible on his face. "I wanted to thank you, Miss Brooks. You were right about everything. If it weren't for you and your granddaughter, I might never have discovered the truth." Miss Brooks nodded, his wise, steady eyes. "Sometimes it takes his innocent voice to wake us up. Eli carries more pain than a child ever should. Now it's time to give him the freedom he deserves." Eli looked back and forth, hope flickering in his chest. "Does this mean I'll get a new leg?" "Not just a new leg," Marcus said. "A new chance. Let's work with Dr. Patel to create something that truly helps you. No more lies. Enough joking around." Anna clapped her hands. "See? I told you things would change." But as they sat together, eating cornbread fresh from Miss Brooks's oven, Marcus's phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen and his face crumpled. He apologized. Leaving, Eli watched him through the window, pacing back and forth, his voice low but urgent. When Marcus returned, his expression was grave. "Vivian is filing for custody," he said calmly. "She claims I'm not fit to care for Eli and that she's the only one who can provide stability." Eli's stomach churned. But she hurt me. She lied." Marcus knelt in front of him, grabbing his shoulders. "I know, and I'm going to fight her, I promise. But that means things will get harder before they get better." Anna's eyes lit up. "She can't win. Everyone saw what she did. The truth is stronger than her lies." Miss Brooks nodded. But you'll need more than the truth. You'll need proof and people willing to tell it. Marcus looked at her closely. Would you testify? You saw the damage, the adjustments, the pain. Miss Brooks didn't hesitate. Of course. Someone has to defend the boy. Eli's throat tightened. He felt fear, but also something else. Pride. For the first time, people were with him, not against him. He was no longer alone. That night, back at the mansion, Marcus tucked Eli into bed. I need you to be brave, he said softly. There will be hearings, lawyers, maybe even people saying things that aren't true. But whatever happens, remember this. You're stronger than they think, and I won't let her take you. Eli grabbed the toy wrench from under his pillow. He thought of Anna's fierce eyes, Miss Brooks's steady hands, his father's newfound determination. The fear was real, but so was the fire inside him. As he fell asleep, he whispered to himself, She can't destroy me, not anymore. In his dreams, the mansion's walls melted away, replaced by open fields and clear skies. He ran again, faster this time. His steps were sure and free. Beside him, Anna laughed, a vibrant, defiant sound. Behind them, Vivian's shadow reached for them, but dissolved into nothingness. For the first time, Eli didn't just dream of freedom, he believed it was possible. The day of the custody hearing arrived with tension that settled over the mansion like a storm cloud. Eli woke early, his stomach churning with nerves. He dressed in a simple blue shirt and khaki pants that Marcus had set aside, clothes that made him look like an ordinary child, not the son of a billionaire. But no matter how well-dressed he was, he felt the weight of what was to come. Vivian tried to pull him away from the people who had finally begun to believe in him. Downstairs, Marcus paced his office, papers scattered across his desk. Her attorney sat across from her, reviewing documents and whispering strategies. We'll emphasize the medical evaluations, the attorney said. Dr. Patel's testimony will be crucial. And Ms. Brooks's observations as an outside witness could be invaluable. Marcus nodded, but his jaw was tense. When Eli entered the room, Marcus's expression softened. He crouched down to his son's level. Let's tell the truth today, he said gently. That's all we need. The truth will protect us. Eli swallowed. What if they don't believe me? Marcus placed a firm hand on his shoulder. They will. You're braver than you think. At school, Anna found him sitting alone on the bench near the playground. She dropped her backpack and sat next to him. Today's the big day, huh? She asked, her voice low but firm. Eli nodded. Vivian's trying to say my dad can't take care of me. She wants to be in charge again. Anna's eyes gleamed with determination. She can't win if you and your father stay together. And remember, Grandma and I are on your side, too. She reached into her pocket and pulled out another trinket. A small star-shaped button. She pressed it into his palm. For luck, keep it with the wrench. That way you have double the power. Eli gave a slight smile, pressing the button. Thank you, Anna. You always know what to say. In the afternoon, the courtroom loomed before them, tall and intimidating. The oak-paneled walls, the flags flanking the judge's bench, the whispers of the lawyers, it all weighed on Eli. He sat next to Marcus at the long table, his feet barely touching the floor. Across the hall, Vivian sat with her lawyer, her face serene and her attire impeccable. She smiled at Eli, but it was the kind of smile that sent chills down his spine. The judge entered, and the courtroom rose to its feet. Eli's heart pounded as the proceedings began. Vivian's lawyer described her as the perfect caregiver, calm and organized, the one who always oversaw Eli's treatments. He described Marcus as distracted, Too absorbed in business to notice his son's needs, Marcus's lawyer responded with medical records, Dr. Patel's findings, and testimony revealing the mismanagement of Eli's prosthesis. Dr. Patel herself testified, her calm voice echoing throughout the room. The adjustments to Eli's prosthetic limb were not only negligent, but also appeared intentional. They increased his dependence rather than boosting his strength. Furthermore, the presence of sedatives in his system cannot be explained as part of normal treatment. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Vivian's smile faltered, but she quickly regained her composure. Her attorney tried to discredit Dr. Patel, but his credentials and detailed explanations remained firm. Then Mrs. Brooks was called and walked firmly to the witness stand. Her silver-streaked hair reflected the light. "I may not be a doctor," she began, "but I've cared for people most of my life. When I looked at that boy's leg, I knew something was wrong. He was in pain every day, and no one seemed to be listening. This isn't care, it's neglect." His words were simple, but they carried weight, the truth resonating in every syllable. Finally, it was Eli's turn. The judge leaned in, his voice softening. "Eli, would you like to tell us how you've been feeling?" Eli's throat tightened. He looked at his father, then at Vivian, whose eyes urged him to be quiet. He reached into his pocket, feeling the wrench and the star-shaped knob. He thought of Anna's words. Truth always wins. Taking a deep breath, he spoke. "It hurt all the time," he said. His voice shook at first, but it grew stronger. "With every step, I told Vivian, but she said it was normal. She said I needed her, that I couldn't get better without her. But she was lying. When Dr. Patel fixed it, even just a little, it was different, better. And when Miss Brooks helped, it hurt less. I finally knew I shouldn't feel this way. I don't want to be weak again. I don't want to go back to her." The court fell silent. Eli's words, though spoken by a child, rang louder than any lawyer's arguments. The judge studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded gently. "Thank you, Eli, you were very brave." Vivian's lawyer tried to regain control, but the tide had turned. Marcus's final argument was clear and firm. "My son suffered needlessly. He needs care, honesty, and the chance to grow strong. I won't let anyone rob him of that again." When the judge finally announced the decision, Eli held his breath so hard it hurt. "Custody will remain with Mr. Marcus Hart. Ms. Vivian Hart will no longer have authority over Eli's medical care. Supervised visits may be arranged, but all decisions are up to the father." Vivian's face paled. For the first time, she looked helpless. She stood abruptly, her heels clicking furiously as she left the courtroom. Eli sank back in his chair, relief flooding him. Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's over," he whispered. As they left the courthouse, Anna and Mrs. Kirkbrooke were waiting on the steps. Anna was jumping up and down with excitement. "You did it. You told the truth, and they believed you." Eli smiled, his eyes shining. "We did it. All of us." Marcus looked at Mrs. Brooks, his face filled with gratitude. "Well, thank you for being with us. I don't think we could have done it without you." Mrs. Brooks shook her head. The strength had always been there. He just needed someone to remind him. That night, back at the mansion, Eli lay in bed, clutching the wrench and the star button. The house felt different now, not like a cage, but like a place where he could finally heal. He whispered into the darkness. The truth won, and in his dreams, he ran faster than ever. With Anna by his side, the sky open above them, the week after the custody hearing felt like the beginning of a new life. For the first time in years, Eli woke up without the fear weighing him down. Vivian was gone. her haunting presence no longer haunting every hallway, and the mansion was quieter, softer, as if it, too, had been freed. Marcus began working from home more often, scheduling meetings at the office so he could keep an eye on his son throughout the day. Eli found himself smiling more, even laughing sometimes, little sounds that seemed strange yet wonderful. At school, the difference was obvious. Anna noticed immediately. "You're walking lighter," she said one morning when they met near the swings. Eli smiled. "Dr. Patel is making me a new prosthetic. She says it will fit better, like it's actually part of me." Anna's eyes widened. "How incredible. You're going to run over everyone." "Maybe not in circles," Eli said shyly. "But I want to try running, just once. I've only dreamed about it." Anna nudged him playfully. "Then we'll make it happen. I'll run with you." But not everything was easy. The bullies still lurked around the edges of the playground, though their cruelty had lost some of its power since the custody case. One afternoon, the tall boy muttered as Eli passed, "Think you're a hero now, robot boy. Just you wait. You'll mess up again." Eli paused. His chest tightened. But instead of flinching, he turned away. "I might screw this up," he said firmly, "but I will rise again, and I will still be stronger than you." The boy blinked, taken aback. His friend chuckled softly, but not at Eli this time. For once, the bully was the one left standing there awkwardly, his power slipping through his fingers. Anna clapped softly as they walked away. "You're unstoppable now," she whispered. That night, Marcus surprised Eli with a trip downtown. They stopped in front of a small prosthetic shop, where Dr. Patel was waiting for them. She smiled warmly as they entered. "I have something for you, Eli," she said. On the table was a lightweight, elegant prosthetic limb, designed with care and precision. This one was made especially for you. It should move with you, not against you. Eli's hands trembled as he touched him. Marcus crouched beside him, his voice full of pride. "Go ahead, champ. Try it on." With Dr. Patel's guidance, Eli slipped on his new leg. The fit was snug but comfortable, without pinching or uncomfortable pressure. He stood, staggered a little, then took a step, another, then a third. His eyes widened. "It doesn't hurt!" he shouted with a shrill laugh. Dr. Patel's smile softened. "That's how it should be." Marcus felt his throat tighten as he watched his son take more steps, each time firmer and faster. "You're amazing," he whispered. By the time they got back to the house, Eli could barely stand still. He paced around the living room, amazed at the difference he felt. He even ran a few steps before collapsing on the couch, laughing. Marcus sat down beside him, pulling him close. "You've been through so much," he said softly, "but you never gave up." "I'm proud of you," Eli said, his chest swelling with pride. "I didn't do this alone. Anna and Miss Brooks, they believed in me first." Marcus nodded, his voice firm. "And I'll never forget that." The next day at school, Eli was eager to show Anna around. He ran, really ran, across the playground to meet her, his laughter echoing through the air. Anna's mouth dropped open. "You're running. You're really running." He skidded to a stop, out of breath but beaming. "It doesn't hurt anymore." Dr. Patel fixed everything. Anna clapped her hands, her eyes shining. "I knew you could do it. Now we can really run." They lined up near the swings, while other children gathered to watch. "Ready?" Anna shouted. "1, 2, 3. They sprinted across the grass. Eli's steps were clumsy at first, but with each step they grew more sure. He stumbled once, nearly falling, but recovered and continued. Anna cheered him on as she ran beside him. When they reached the fence, both panting, Eli laughed so hard his cheeks hurt. "I did it," he gasped. "I really did." The other kids cheered. Some even cheered. The bullies stood back and smiling. For the first time, Eli wasn't just the one-legged boy. He was the boy who ran away. That night, as Marcus tucked him into bed, Eli whispered, "Dad, do you think Vivian's really gone?" Marcus hesitated. She might try to come back. People like her don't give up easily, but whatever happens, you won't face her alone. You'll have me, and you'll have the truth. Eli grabbed the wrench and the star-shaped knob from under his pillow. "And Anna," he added softly. Marcus smiled, and so did Anna. As Eli fell asleep, he dreamed not of fear or pain, but of endless fields where he could run as far as he wanted, with Anna always by his side, the warm sun on his face. The future was uncertain. But for the first time, it seemed wide open. Saturday morning dawned with a golden glow streaming through the mansion's wide windows. For the first time, Eli woke not with pain, but with excitement. His new leg felt like a part of him, not a burden. And today, Marcus had promised something special. After breakfast, father and son headed out of town toward a large, open park where runners often trained. The field stretched out in the morning sun, and to Eli it looked like freedom waiting to be seized. Anna and Miss Brooks were already there. Anna waved frantically as she saw Eli stepping out of the SUV. Her smile was so wide it nearly split her face, ready to show off. She called. Eli laughed nervously. "I don't know if I can show off, but I can try." Marcus placed a small cooler and a blanket on the floor. As Miss Brooks leaned on her cane, her piercing eyes fixed on Eli with pride. "You don't have to show off," she said gently. "All you have to do is be yourself. That's more than enough." The park was bustling with excited families on the weekend, throwing frisbees, running along the trail, kids flying kites. Yet as Eli began to walk across the grass, it seemed as if the whole world had condensed into his steps. Each step was smooth, confident, free of the sharp pain that had previously accompanied every movement. He glanced at Anna, who was jumping with anticipation. "Run with me again?" he asked shyly. "You're in," she said. They lined up near a group of tall trees. 1, 2, 3. Anna screamed, and they sprinted forward. Eli's steps were uneven at first, but soon his rhythm found him. The wind blew in his face. His heart pounded in his chest, and as he crossed the imaginary finish line, laughter poured out of him like sunlight. Anna doubled over, panting. "You're getting faster." I almost had to force myself to do it this time. Eli's grin spread from ear to ear. "I've never felt like this before." Marcus clapped his hands slowly, his eyes shining suspiciously. "That's my boy," he said quietly but proudly. Then they sat on the blanket, eating sandwiches Miss Brooks had prepared. The air smelled of grass and barbecues from nearby families. Eli bit into his sandwich and whispered, "This is what normal life is like, isn't it?" Anna propped herself up on her elbows, better than usual. "This is what freedom feels like. The end." But the joy of the moment was fraught with unease. Marcus kept his phone on silent, but it vibrated constantly near the refrigerator. Finally, as Eli and Anna kicked a ball across the field, Marcus stepped aside to check. The lawyer's message was brief but blunt. Vivian filed an appeal. Marcus gritted his teeth. He pocketed his phone and forced a smile as Eli came running back. He didn't want to ruin the day, not yet. Later that night, back at the mansion, Marcus finally told Eli the truth. They sat in the study, the fire crackling low in the fireplace. "Vivian's not finished yet," Marcus said quietly. "She's filed an appeal. This means we'll have to fight again." Eli felt a tightness in his chest, but the judge had already said, "I know," Marcus interrupted, his hand resting gently on his son's shoulder. "But sometimes people fight because they hate losing more than they love the truth. Vivian doesn't want to give up control." "Ugh," Eli swallowed. "Does that mean she can still take me away?" Marcus shook his head firmly. Not if I have anything to say about it. And not if we keep telling the truth. That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He clutched the toy wrench and the star-shaped button from under his pillow, whispering to himself, the truth always wins. But fear consumed him. What if the court wouldn't listen this time? What if Vivian's lies were louder than his own voice? At school the next day, Anna immediately sensed something was wrong. "What happened?" she asked, as they sat under the oak tree. Eli told her everything, the plea, the fear returning. Anna's eyes narrowed. Then we'll fight harder," she said simply. "She can't win if you don't give up. You've come too far to turn back now." "But what if they believe her?" Eli whispered. Anna leaned closer, her voice firm. "Then we'll make them believe you. We told everyone what she did. We didn't hide anymore." Eli looked at her, her small figure so fierce, and felt a surge of courage. Maybe she was right. Maybe this time he wouldn't just defend himself, but stand his ground. That afternoon, something extraordinary happened. The same bullies who had once tormented Eli stood near the swings, but instead of mocking, the tall boy muttered, "Hey, good run yesterday." Eli froze, not sure he'd heard correctly. The boy shuffled awkwardly. "I think you're tougher than you look." Then he walked away, followed by his friends. Anna's jaw dropped. "Did he just compliment you?" Eli blinked, stunned. "I think so." Anna burst out laughing. "You're changing the whole school." Eli Hart. That night, Marcus sat with Eli in his room, watching him balance easily on his new prosthetic. "You know," Marcus said softly, "sometimes the hardest fights aren't about business or money. They're about love. About protecting the people who matter." Eli looked at him. "Do you think we'll win again?" Marcus's gaze was firm. "I don't think so." "I know. Because this time we're not just fighting her lies, we're fighting the truth. And everyone who believes in you." Eli climbed onto the bed, his heart still heavy but firmer than before. He whispered into the darkness, "She can't take me away." No longer. In his dreams that night, Vivian's shadow loomed again, reaching out to him with cold, sharp hands. But he was not alone. Anna stood beside him, holding her toy wrench aloft like a weapon. Marcus stood behind him, unwavering, and Miss Brooks's voice echoed like a hymn, "You are stronger than they think." And for the first time, the shadow receded. The weeks leading up to the appeal passed slowly. Each day stretched out tense with anticipation. Though the mansion remained silent without Vivian's presence, her shadow still loomed large in every whispered phone call and every wary glance Marcus cast at the mail. Eli felt it too, an unease humming beneath the surface of his newfound strength. But unlike before, fear no longer dominated him. He had learned to walk without pain, to speak without flinching, and to believe in himself. This knowledge burned like a small flame within him, constant even when the wind threatened to extinguish it. On a breezy Thursday afternoon, Eli sat under the oak tree at school with Anna. She devoured her lunch, handing him half of it as usual. "Grandma says Vivian's kind of person doesn't stop until she has to," she said bluntly. "But she also says that lies never last forever. The truth is like the sun. It always breaks through." Eli turned the toy wrench over in his hands. "I hope the judge sees this." Anna stepped closer, her eyes fierce. "So let them see. Don't just tell them what happened. Show them who you are now. Show them you're not broken. That's how you win." Later that day, Marcus arrived at school to pick up Eli. His face looked tired, but his smile was genuine. "We have a meeting with the lawyers," he explained. "I need you there too. Champ. They want to hear your story." In the downtown office, Eli found himself surrounded by serious men and women in dark suits. The desk was cluttered with thick folders and binders. A lawyer leaned forward. Eli, when you speak in court, don't be afraid. Just tell the truth, exactly as you feel it. The judges valued honesty above all else. Eli nodded, though his palms were sweating. Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. You did it. That night, back at the mansion, Marcus took Eli for a stroll through the garden. The fountain glistened in the moonlight, and the air smelled faintly of jasmine. I need you to know something, Marcus said quietly. Vivian will try to twist everything. She'll say she was protecting you. She'll portray herself as a victim, but the truth is stronger. Remember this. Eli looked at him. Do you really believe we're going to win? Marcus hesitated for just a second. Yes, because this time you won't be silent. This changes everything. The day of the appeal arrived all too quickly. The courthouse appeared once more, its stone facade austere and intimidating. Reporters stood outside, cameras flashing as Marcus led Eli through the doors. Ignore them, Marcus whispered. Focus only on what matters. Inside, Vivian sat across the aisle from her, her lawyer beside her. She seemed polite and calm. Her smile was forced, but Eli noticed the tension in her jaw, her eyes fixed on him. And for a moment, the old fear resurfaced, but then he felt the wrench and the star-shaped button in his pocket. Memories of Anna's faith. He squared his shoulders. The trial began. Vivian's lawyer argued that Eli's care under his supervision had been consistent, that any errors were unintentional, and that Marcus had been too absent to notice. They portrayed Vivian as the steady hand, the caregiver, the only one who truly understood Eli's needs. Marcus's attorney countered with the medical records, Dr. Patel's testimony, and Ms. Brooks's earlier statement. But this time, Eli himself was called to the stand first. The judge leaned in again, his voice soft. Eli, can you tell us how you've been since the last hearing? Eli's heart was pounding, but he thought about Anna's words. Show them who you are now. He took a deep breath. Since my last hearing, I've gotten a new leg. Dr. Patel fitted it perfectly. It doesn't hurt anymore. I can walk better, even run. Before, it hurt every day. Vivian told me it was normal, that I needed her, but she was wrong. Now I know she was lying. I'm not broken. I never was. I just needed someone to listen to me. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Vivian shifted uncomfortably, her smile wavering. The judge nodded thoughtfully. Can you show us, Eli? Eli blinked. Show me? Yes. You said you can walk better now. Can you show the court? Marcus's lawyer whispered encouragement, and Eli stood up. His legs trembled at first, but he steadied himself. Slowly, then with growing confidence, he walked across the courtroom. His steps were gentle, his face calm. Then, with a surge of courage, he ran back to his seat. The courtroom erupted in whispers. That, Eli said breathlessly, is the truth. That's what happens when people help me instead of hurting me. Vivian's face paled. She whispered furiously to the lawyer, but the damage was already done. The judge raised his hand, calling for silence. At the end of the closing arguments, the court held its breath as the judge delivered his decision. The evidence is clear. Eli has been thriving since leaving Miss Hart's supervision. The court reaffirms that full custody remains with Mr. Marcus Hart. Furthermore, due to credible evidence of neglect, Miss Hart's visitation rights are suspended indefinitely. Vivian's composure crumbled. She stood abruptly, her voice harsh. This is unfair. I did everything for him. The judge's gavel banged once. Order. This case is closed. Vivian's lawyer tried to calm her down, but she stormed out of the courtroom, her heels clicking loudly on the marble floor. Marcus exhaled slowly, relief softening his features. He turned to Eli, pulling him into a firm hug. You did it, son. You showed them the truth. Outside, the air felt lighter. Reporters were milling about, but Marcus shielded Eli as they walked toward the SUV. Through the crowd, Eli spotted Anna and Miss Brooks waiting on the steps. Anna waved frantically. "You did it!" she shouted. Eli broke free and ran to her, laughing breathlessly. "I told them everything, and they believed me." Anna smiled, her eyes shining. "I knew they would. Lies don't win when the truth has its say." That night, back at the mansion, Marcus let Eli stay up late. They sat together in the garden, fireflies dancing in the warm night air. "You changed everything today," Marcus said softly, "not just for you, but for everyone watching. You reminded people that even the smallest voice can speak the greatest truth." Eli smiled, holding the wrench and knob close in his hands. "I wasn't the weakest voice, actually. I had Anna, you, and Miss Brooks. That made me stronger." Marcus's eyes lit up. "And you will never be alone again." "That is my promise." As Eli fell asleep that night, his dreams were filled with open fields once again, but this time he wasn't just running, he was gliding. Each step, a leap toward freedom. With Anna's laughter and his father's steady voice guiding him, spring in Atlanta seemed to arrive suddenly. Dogwoods bloomed along the streets, its white flowers scattered like confetti in the wind. To Eli, the season seemed a reflection of his own life, new, tender, and full of possibilities. It had been 2 weeks since the final court ruling, and the shadow Vivian had cast over his days had finally lifted. She had disappeared from their lives, her fury following her like a passing storm, leaving broken branches in its wake. Yet within Hart Manor, peace had begun to take root. Marcus, too, had changed, no longer buried in endless meetings. He set aside time every day to sit with his son, walk with him in the garden, listen. For years, Eli had dreamed of having his father close by, and now the dream was a reality. One night, while they were having dinner together, just the two of them, Marcus put down his fork and said softly, "I really miss your life, Eli. I can't change the past, but I can be here now. With every step forward, I'll be here." Eli's throat tightened. He nodded quickly, unable to speak for the emotion building inside him. The school was different, too. The bullies no longer held power. Some avoided him altogether, their cruelty crumbling under the weight of truth. The tall boy who had once tormented him murmured a strange, "Hey," one morning as they passed in the hallway. It wasn't quite an apology, but it wasn't an insult either. Eli didn't need the words. He already knew he'd won. Anna remained his anchor. Every day at lunch, they sat together under the oak tree. She still split her sandwich in half. She still teased him when he walked too stiffly. She still laughed louder than anyone else on the playground, but their friendship had deepened into something unshakable. Forged in the fires of cruelty and lies, tempered by courage and truth, one afternoon, Anna proposed something bold. "We should sign up for the school fun run," she said, her eyes shining. Eli nearly choked on his juice box. "A race? Me? Why not?" she retorted. "You can run now. And it's not about winning. It's about showing that you're no longer afraid." The idea terrified him, but it also thrilled him. He thought about it all night, pacing back and forth in his room, clutching the toy wrench and the star-shaped knob. By morning, he knew the answer. "Let's go," he told her at school. Training began after school. Anna ran alongside him every afternoon, cheering when he got further than the day before. Miss Brooks sometimes watched from the porch, clapping her hands. "You're finding your rhythm, kid," she yelled. Marcus also came to practice, his business calls paused, his eyes filled with pride as he watched his son move freely across the grass. The day of the fun run arrived with the sun high and the crowd buzzing with excitement. Parents lined the schoolyard, cameras in hand. Marcus stood firmly among them, his heart in his throat, watching Eli line up with the other children. Anna stood beside him, holding his hand. "Ready?" she whispered. Eli nodded, his stomach churning. "I think so." The whistle blew, and the children surged forward. Eli's legs moved awkwardly at first, but then the rhythm found him. The prosthetic held firm, his muscles working in harmony. He ran, not fast, not flawless, but with determination. Anna stood beside him, her laughter urging him forward. Halfway there, he stumbled, nearly falling. The crowd gasped for a moment, panic tightening their chests. But then he remembered it wasn't broken. He braced his good leg, steadied himself, and continued. The crowd erupted in applause. Marcus shouted her name, his voice thick with pride. When Eli and Anna crossed the finish line, hand in hand, applause shook the schoolyard. They weren't first, but it didn't matter. Eli was finished. He had run. He had proven to himself and everyone watching that he was free. Then Marcus hugged him and lifted him off the ground. "You did it, son. You did it." His voice cracked, but he didn't care. Eli clung to him, breathless and smiling. "I'm not broken, Dad." "I never was." Anna stood nearby, hands on her hips, and a smile from ear to ear. "I told you so," she said triumphantly. That night, a small party was held in Miss Brooks's trailer. She cooked collard greens and cornbread, and Marcus brought a cake. They crowded into the cozy space, laughter echoing off the walls. Anna declared herself Eli's official coach, and Miss Brooks raised a cup of sweet tea. To the boy who discovered the truth, she said, may he never forget it. As night fell, Eli left. The air was crisp, the stars shone above him. He held the wrench and the star-shaped button in his hands. They were small gifts, but to him they were symbols of friendship, courage, and survival. He whispered softly, "Thank you." Behind him, Marcus joined him on the porch. "What are you thinking, champ?" Eli gave a slight smile. "How far I've come. How far I can still go." Marcus's arm wrapped around her shoulders. "So let's continue." Together, for the first time in his life, Eli believed wholeheartedly. The shadows dissipated, the lies silenced, and the path ahead opened wide and open. He was no longer just surviving, he was living. And in his dreams that night, he didn't just run through the fields. He was flying, each step taking him higher, Anna's laughter and his father's steady voice echoing around him. Freedom was no longer a dream, it was his life. Eli's story teaches us that true strength comes not from physical perfection or wealth, but from courage, truth, and the people who believe in us. Even when lies and cruelty tried to keep him weak, Eli found his voice, stood up against injustice, and discovered that he was never broken in the first place. His journey reminds us that healing begins when we are heard, that friendship can be more powerful than fear, and that truth, no matter how small its voice, will always overshadow the darkest of lies.